and she offered me gas money to bring him to her.
Yeah.
So I did. And
Still nothing wrong with that. Okay, go ahead.
no, but that's honestly like that's really all I ever wanted to do. But I guess when I got there, one thing ended up leading to another. They both got back in my truck. We left. I went, got fuel. Then I went to my other friend's house to go hang out with him because I was originally supposed to go see him. And I brought them along with me. So at that point, that is where everything started taking place. Which, like I wrote down, I knew that what I did wasn't right and that I should have made a better decision and thought about what I did.
So I'm going to stop you. The mistake was assaulting an underage victim. That was the mistake.
Don't be fooled by this baby-faced serial offender. This 27-year-old man was arrested for the second time while he was on probation for his first assault of a 13-year-old child. After getting caught, he was sentenced to just 5 years in prison. As a matter of fact, the date of his sentence was January 17th of 2023. So he's up for parole after less than a year of even serving this sentence. I'll unpack it with the details at the end.
Thank you.
I wasn't going to raise that room. I see it on the right.
Good morning, Mr. Haviland.
Good morning.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Friday, July 26, 2024, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, sir. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Good morning, I'm panel member Page.
Good morning, George Chance.
Good morning.
Also present is Office of Victim Service Advocate Hamlet Williams. Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Last name first, or does it matter?
Both, please.
All right. First name Timothylee, last name Haviland, inmate number 424454.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Timothy Haviland, 424454. He is serving a sentence of 15 years, executed suspended after serving 5 years, followed by 10 years probation for sexual assault. Second, victim age 13 to 15, actor more than 2 years older. And he also has a violation of probation. The underlying charge is risk of injury to a child. He is to remain on the sex offender registry for 10 years. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of May 14, 2024. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed. It shows he has completed the track 1 sex offender program, voices. He's currently participating in crime, and he's a janitor. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the moderate to high range. Mr. Haviland, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
All right. I would like to start by saying I appreciate you taking your time to see me. I know parole is not promised. It's not granted. It's a privilege. And like I said, I appreciate you doing that and giving me the opportunity to plead my case and try to prove my right for getting parole. And I would like to read something off of what I wrote for the victims.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. This is for the victim. It says, I would like to start by saying I'm sorry to the victim and their family. I'm sorry for the mental, emotional, and physical pain that I may have caused. I did not mean to hurt anyone. That was the last thing I ever wanted to do. I know better and should have taken a different path. Nothing I say or do will ever justify what I did. I take full responsibility for my actions. I should have never have, it should have never happened. If I could take it back, I would. With that being said, what I can do is make sure I get the help I need so that it never happens again. I have my family reaching out to therapists and other services to make sure I get the right help. Then after that, I have my 5-year and my relapse prevention plan.
Go ahead.
All right, my 5-year, it says that actually fits into my plan for the next 5 years. Once I am released from prison, I hope to have a stable life. In 5 years, I will have a job and my license and vehicle. I will also being helping my family and someday hope to have a family of my own. I would like to start and hopefully own my own business, but before any of that can happen, I need to work on myself and continue going to therapy. That's going to play a part in me helping and being able to move forward with my life. And my relapse prevention plan is to have a good support system around me, whether it's family or friends that I can call if I feel like I'm going to reoffend or if there's a potential high risk situation that I need to walk away from. Being able to see and realize a risk factor will go a long way. In my recovery, I made a mistake in picking someone up. I will think twice before I do that again. I will be looking into NA and AA to help also. While also therapy, I never wanted to put myself or anyone else in a situation again. Likely, I can't repeat that, but the key to my recovery is staying busy and surrounding myself with good people who have my back and want to see me succeed in life. That is it.
All right, thank you for your statement, sir. We have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services for input. Then we'll deliberate and give you our decision.
Okay.
Okay. Are you sitting in a chair?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it looks like you're leaning against the wall. Maybe it's just a bad view.
No.
There you go. Mr. Haviland, I do have some comments from your opening statement. While we appreciate you writing down your thoughts and expressing them, you did state that your mistake was picking someone up. I don't think that was your mistake. Do you really believe that? That's all you did wrong, was pick somebody up? Because most people don't go to prison for that.
No, it's more or less a leading factor of what happened that night, and like I said, I do take responsibility for it. I never should have done it. That's why I said it's more or less, that's why I'm not going to pick no one up anymore. Because I picked up my co-defendant. I brought him home. That was my only plan, was to bring him home. And then
there's nothing wrong with picking up a friend and bringing them home.
Oh, yes, there's really nothing wrong with that. But once what happened was after I brought him home, I guess the victim was trying to contact him and she couldn't get a hold of him, so she ended up getting a hold of me. So, and she offered me gas money to bring him to her.
Yeah,
So I did. And
still nothing wrong with that. Okay, go ahead.
no, but that's honestly that's really all I ever wanted to do. But I guess when I got there, one thing ended up leading to another. They both got back in my truck. We left. I went, got fuel. Then I went to my other friend's house to go hang out with him because I was originally supposed to go see him. And I brought them along with me. So at that point, that is where everything started taking place. Which, like I wrote down, I knew that what I did wasn't right and that I should have made a better decision and thought about
Yeah.
what I did.
So I'm going to stop you. The mistake was sexually assaulting an underage victim. That was the mistake. Let's just put it out there. If you can't talk about it, then how do you move forward and succeed in treatment?
I can talk about it. I just,
No, you're beating around the bush is what you're doing.
that I'm trying to honestly put it behind me and move forwards with my life and better myself.
Well, do you think that your victims are able to do that?
No, and I am honestly, and I'm very sorry for that I ever put them through that.
Mm-hmm. My biggest concern, Mr. Haviland, is that you've been through treatment and you're making the same mistake, you know, saying I didn't know her age. It wasn't forced. You should know better because you already had a similar offense. And you should have learned in the programs or treatment that you took then how to avoid repeating those mistakes you did not. Those decisions, actually, poor decisions. Why did you do so poorly while you were on probation?
Truthfully, I actually had a lot of stuff going on with my family. So
What does that mean? Because we all have a lot of stuff going on with our families. We need specifics here. What was going on that was so important that you could not do well on probation?
meaning like I had to, every chance I can, I had to go take care of my dad because he's dying of cancer. I know
Okay.
it's not excuses, but it's the honest truth.
Okay.
That's pretty much the only reason.
I mean, you failed miserably at probation. You really weren't doing anything you were supposed to be doing. So there really is no good enough excuse unless you were in the hospital. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure you still went about your life because you were able to commit this offense. So you were out with friends. So why couldn't you report to probation, go to your programs? I don't know, follow the rules. Things are always going to happen, right? Things are always going to happen in life that can distract you from what you need to do, but you really need to focus. And you have 10 years of probation to follow your sentence. So that's a long road. It's a lot of compliance. And if you don't comply, you'll just come right back to prison. We don't want that for you. You're a young guy and you certainly can be more productive while you're in the community.
I don't know. That's why.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Can you explain your disciplinary reports, please?
Can you kind of like describe what you mean? Because
Your
that's
tickets. You got tickets for contraband, which is Pruno, and refusing to give a specimen when they wanted to test you.
Alright, the Pruno situation, that honestly was not mine, and I wasn't gonna take the blame for something that wasn't mine. And my QB at the time wasn't doing it either, so we both ended up getting a ticket for it.
Yeah.
But everybody in the block, like the COs, the counselor, everybody knew that it was his because they've caught him before with it. And the specimen, they calmed me down right after lunch. And because once I got back from lunch, I went and used the bathroom. So when they calmed me down, I wasn't able to go. And I explained that to the officer.
But don't they give you like 3 hours?
They do, but they didn't give me no water or nothing. Then
So
I
you
couldn't
sat
go.
there for 3 hours?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. All right.
And if
I read somewhere, okay, thank you for explaining that. I read somewhere that you violated your probation because you just wanted to be done with it.
Yes.
And, well, that type of logic will not work for you because now you have 10 more years of probation.
Well, it
It
wasn't.
doesn't automatically go away when you violate the
No, I
continuous.
know. It wasn't the fact that I wanted to be done with probation. I wanted to be done with the track one or whatever. What is, I don't know what the name of it really is, but the program that I was in at home, the sex offender group.
Yeah.
I wanted to be done with that because they weren't teaching us nothing. They weren't letting us go forward. They kept holding us back. If that makes any sense.
Okay,
Like, I
did you
wasn't-
think you no longer needed any treatment? There's different phases, so there's gonna be different parts that you may not like, but
No, it
did you
wasn't
think you
the-
didn't need treatment any longer?
No, I knew I still needed it to better myself more.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, I'm being honest, but it really didn't feel like they were letting us go anywhere. Like succeeding, like, because every time we'll go, they just pretty much repeat the same thing over and over,
okay.
and we weren't.
But
really
maybe they needed to repeat themselves over and over because you went and did the same thing. So you weren't hearing what they were saying, obviously, didn't work.
True.
What was your alternative plan for treatment?
What do you mean by alternative?
Well, if you weren't gonna go to that treatment, what treatment were you gonna go to?
Honestly, anything that probably would have helped me.
So why didn't you
Like-
research a different type of treatment?
Because they wouldn't allow me to have internet access, so I couldn't do anything.
Did you ask your probation officer to look for a different treatment for you?
Last probation officer I had, she didn't really like me. So
It's her job to help you. That's her only job.
I know that, but every time I tried to get her to help me, she didn't really want to help me. So I ended up violating it. When I got out, I got a new probation officer, and he tried to do everything that he could for me, but then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And there was no going to parole to see him, none of that.
Uh-huh.
So I couldn't really ask for help.
Yeah. Wow. You mentioned for your relapse prevention plan, you were gonna surround yourself with a good support system. Who does that involve? Who are your supports?
My support system will involve my dad, my mom, my two sisters, my brother, and my half brother.
Why are you asking for a halfway house if you have all this support?
Because I can't go to their house because my dad lives with my sister at this point in time because of his cancer, and she has 3 kids, and my other sister has a kid.
Okay.
I'm trying to obey by the rules of not being
Where's your
around
mom?
minors. My mom is with her husband somewhere in Tolland,
Okay.
and she works at a nursing home, so she's not ever going to be there. And they are financially struggling, so I don't want to put that burden on them.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues and listen to what they have to say. Thank you for speaking with me. Ms. Chance?
So, Mr. Haviland, as I'm listening to you, and reviewing, your previous, evaluation and your discharge from the sex offender program, they had some concerns. And it was, one of them was significant social influences, meaning that, you rely on your friends and, do whatever you and them wanted to do. And the other was the lack of concern for others and your impulsive acts and poor cognitive problem solving. And, you didn't seem to utilize treatment effectively. So you go back in the community and you did similar offense for which you are here before us today. So has anything changed from the last sex offender program to now?
You're talking, the sex offender program you're talking about was the one that was at home, right? Or the one
Yes.
here?
The one at home?
Well, like I stated, the one at home, honestly, in my perspective, it kept holding me back. So it wasn't allowing me to benefit from it. But the one that I took here, no, not here, but in McDougal, it actually allowed me to open up and be able to identify more risk factors than I was able to when I was at home. And I can actually make a better connection with certain people and be able to realize who is like underage and who's not good for me, or if that makes kind of any sense.
It is, but it's interesting that you feel that program was more beneficial to the one in the community when usually we hear the opposite. So for me, despite, what you're saying and listening to you today, I just feel that you still have a lack of insight to the seriousness of your criminal conduct. And I don't know, for me, you don't seem to have any motivation to change.
I mean, I do have motivation.
What's your motivation to change?
My motivation is honestly to get better and try to do any programs I can to better myself, go to therapy. And if I have an issue, like if I'm in a group and there's an issue and I don't think we're going forward with it, I'll ask one of the teachers or one of the therapist ladies if I can talk to them after class and explain my situation with them. So I try
Okay,
to
so
better
you don't
myself.
want to do it in class. You don't want to address your issues in class. So a group setting is not for you. Is that what you're saying?
No, the group setting is for me. It's just when I talk in front of a bunch of people, I get really nervous and I like clam up a little bit and like start choking up. So that's another thing I do have to work on, being able to speak in front of a lot of people. And I have been trying to work on that. That's why I'm actually kind of surprised I'm able to sit here and talk to the board right now.
Okay, well, that's progress, I guess.
But I honestly
Well-
wouldn't have been able to do this.
Yeah. So I heard you talk about, your relapse prevention and when you go back in the community. So you do know that you have to re-engage in the program, in the sex offender program in the community.
Yes, I do.
So what are your intentions towards that group?
Can you
Considering that
kinda-
you didn't do so well before.
Honestly, my intentions is to put 110% in this time and do what I actually have to do, sit there. If it comes down to staying after with one of the teachers to get stuff I need to do done, I will. or sit down with my probation officer or parole officer and see if they can help me with what needs to be done. Because I have, honestly, and no, this isn't an excuse, but I have a learning disability, a reading disability, and a writing disability. But like I said, I know it's not an excuse. I've been trying to work past it. It's kind of hard, but I'm gonna try to get as much help as I can to do what I can to do, like to finish all my paperwork, and even if it comes down to having my dad or my mom or my sister give me a ride to class every single day and make sure I'm there.
Do you feel that in group settings that your colleagues are kind and thoughtful and will sort of try to help you?
I do, but I also do get embarrassed a lot when it comes down to asking for help. And that's another thing I do have to push through. I have to better myself with that. I have very low self-esteem when it comes to asking for help. But I've been.
So you
trying
have to make a list of all those things as things that you need to work on.
Yes, and I've been trying to work on that. Like a couple people in my cube in my dorm, they've been trying to help me out. I've been sitting there reading with them. They said that since they've known me, I've got better, to talk to people and express my feelings.
Yeah, and it's concerning because this is not the first time that you have done this. So the serious part of it is here you are again. Okay, all right, well, I don't have any further questions, but I wish you the best of luck. I'm all set, Madam Chair.
Ms. Page, no questions, thank you. All right, at this time, we're going to turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services for input. You can listen, just don't interrupt, please. Ms. Hamlet-Williams, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have the mother of the victim who will be addressing the board today. As she reports, the victim was just too emotional to do so. So she will be speaking with you today. One moment.
Okay. Today we are sitting down as a collective group and making an educated decision regarding the early release of Timothylee Haviland. I am the mother of the victim in this case. Yes, we have made it through the years since an assault has occurred, but it hasn't been easy, and by no means should the sentencing be easy either. I would be a little more lenient with my viewpoint on this case if the offender was a first-time offender who made a mistake or if they were in a relationship, but that wasn't the case. This perpetrator not only hit my daughter, but he was also on probation at the time from a previous sex-related crime. My daughter is the one that endured the trauma, the collection of the evidence, the testimony, and having to relive that night every time she hears or sees someone that resembles or sounds like Mr. Haviland or his co-conspirator. When you Google Mr. Haviland's name, it does not bring up his accomplishments or his accolades. It solely brings up an article titled, "Manchester Police Say Homeless Man Assaulted Underage Girl." This article, in fact, is the same article I found the night of July 14th, 2021. This article describes his actions in the previous case and how there was proof on the 14-year-old girl's cell phone indicating that he had sex with her. I do believe the state failed by not deeming him a sex offender after the commission of that crime, since it is obvious that he is in fact a sexual deviant. My daughter, my family, and I went through all the red tape to get this criminal sentenced for the time that he committed to be sure that it would never happen to another victim. I do not believe that he is a good candidate for early release, as this seems to be a reoccurring trend for him. Now that we have discussed the character of Mr. Haviland, we should also discuss how this affected our family. My daughter was going to read a statement as well, but when she sat down to write it, she could do nothing but cry, just thinking about the night. There have been circumstances while out in public that Elizabeth sees someone, smells someone, or hears someone that resembles, smells like, or sounds like either Mr. Haviland or his co-conspirator. She freezes, freaks out, and goes running to the car or another avenue of safety. My daughter went from being happy and caring to not trusting people and being stressed out in many social situations and circumstances. As for my parents and I, it has been a lot. Financially, emotionally, it has just been a lot. Having to learn what to do to calm her down in fight or flight situations, trying to figure out what to do to help her move past this, and trying to get her to move on from this without necessarily accepting that it was okay. It's hard. Mr. Haviland has proven to the judicial system and to society more than once that he is, in fact, a sexual deviant. After all, not only did he reoffend, but he also, in my opinion, groomed his co-conspirator to partake in this lifestyle as well. Not only did his co-conspirator partake in this crime with him, but his co-conspirator committed another sexual-based crime while awaiting sentencing on my daughter's case. How many young girls have been assaulted at the hands of Mr. Haviland and the friends that he grooms? I ask the board to follow the recommendations of the judge at sentencing and have the defendant serve the rest of his term in prison. He can prove at that time whether he is rehabilitated or if he will again choose the path of recidivism. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, panel.
Thank you, Ms. Hamlet-Williams. Okay, Mr. Haviland, we'll enter deliberation at this time, the panel, and you can listen to us. We'll come back to you shortly with our decision. Okay, so Mr. Haviland, of course, was on probation at the time he committed this offense for a very similar offense. He has taken the Track 1 program, Voices, he's been working, he's in Prime. However, he had 2 prior negative discharges from a similar program in the community. When we spoke with him here today, in my opinion, he had a lot of excuses for not only his behaviors, but his lack of compliance with probation, his disciplinary reports. It just appears that he has not yet taken full responsibility. The treatment, he didn't like the treatment in the community, which he'll have to return to. He's got 10 years probation to follow his sentence. Given the fact that he was on probation at the time and failed miserably, and he has a new sex offense, and I don't hear the level of change that I would need to feel comfortable releasing him. My vote today would be to deny parole. Ms. Chance?
I agree with everything you said, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Page?
My vote is well to deny.
Okay. My reasons would be nature and circumstance, or probation or on probation, inadequate evidence of offender change and injury and impact to the victim. In the matter of Timothylee Haviland, inmate number 424454, I'll move to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstance of your offense, the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family, inadequate evidence of offender change, and poor performance while on probation. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, sir, we couldn't grant you parole, but we certainly wish you the best and hope that you'll continue to work on yourself.
This concludes.
no.
This concludes the parole hearing for Timothy Haviland, 424454.
The level of immaturity and I guess complete lack of empathy is, we see it all, but there's something just bizarre about this. And I think maybe not bizarre, maybe not that's not the right word. It's unsettling or disarming, because he has this look where you just don't see, I just don't see, he's 27 years old. And I just don't see, it's like, what? And I think that's what makes him so dangerous, is that he can probably lie about his age. So that he can pass for like being a 15-year-old kid. And he's a serial predator. And and then you hear him talk and he's just like, what are the words that he uses? I don't want to remember it. I just need to put it behind me. He starts off his speech by, the mistake I made was picking up my friend. And of course, what is just, irritating aggravating, upsetting, frustrating. And, it's the mic drop to the victim's mother, how she states it, the way she talks about it. When you Googled his name, the only thing that came up was this old article from December 6, 2018. I'll read that to you. Thank you, Richard, for dropping it in here. A 14-year-old girl's father. Now, this is his first crime that a judge gave him probation for when he was 21 years old. A 14-year-old girl's father found evidence on his daughter's cell phone that she was having intercourse with the homeless man. That's how it's written in the article, homeless man, who was hanging around with a group of young teenagers, police said. The man, Timothy, he was 20 at the time, was arrested and charged with 3 counts of second-degree sexual assault, 1 count of fourth-degree sexual assault, and 4 counts of risk of injury to a minor. He was being held on $100,000 for a court appearance on February 23rd. Now, the victim's father told police that he had warned him, this punk, to stay away from his daughter. Police said checking the girls, so he knew that he was hanging around her, and he said don't. He checks his daughter's cell phone and found that she had his phone number saved under the alias Tina on her phone, in her contact list. That's what the arrest warrant says. The girl's father reported finding explicit messages between the girl and Haviland in October, and police verified the message through forensic examination of the phone. He admitted to having sex with the girl behind the commercial building on the eastern end of Hillard Street, a place that the girl and her friends called the Hideout. The warrant said, asked if he knew the girl's age, Haviland said he thought she was a high school junior or senior. A mutual friend of the victim and Haviland, however, told police that he knew she was not of consenting age. She was 14. Can you imagine the worst nightmare of a father is having this punk, at a certain age, and it's you wonder how he's faring in prison. And maybe the alcohol they found in his cell wasn't his. Like, that might be the only thing that I believe, the Pruno, that maybe wasn't his, and like they kind of set him up for that. But also remember that he had a dirty urine. He refused to urinate there, so that's while he's in prison. The idea that he's even up for parole while with those write-ups are mind-boggling, but that's Connecticut. And so in this initial offense, when he's 20 years old, the judge gives him probation. And let's see if I can pull up the exact thing that he says. So he was given probation. So he was sentenced to 51 months jail, but suspended after 90 days, which was, my guess, would have been time served, and probation for 38 months. While he's on probation, he violates by picking up his friend. So it's another underage girl, and this time it seems that him and his friend, we don't have the details on that, but I think that it's pretty clear what it was. And even with being a serial predator at this time, with 2 offenses against young children, a clear, you can very well see him at being such a risk, because it's very easy for him to now, he obviously likes younger, that's his taste. He looks young, so he's a danger. He's a clear danger. He has the maturity and understanding and insight of, I don't know, maybe a 5-year-old. I don't, and he only has to register for 10 years. And his maximum sentence is only 5 years. The date of his sentence was 1/17/2023. That was the date of his sentence. And then he comes up for parole. Now his full term date, which means he's getting out regardless, November 14th, 2026. So he's got another 2 years. And you heard from the victim, who really just laid down the hard facts, laid down the mic drop, what needed to be stated. And I guess we'll do our part. We'll do our part by reporting on this case. We can help the voice. Anyways, that's all I have. And it's just a system that's not designed to truly protect. It's really not. I mean, he sentenced him to 15 years. It's like you can see the judge saying, you know what, you're on probation for this act, and then you go out and you do this. I think a 15-year sentence is great, but then he adds to it, but you only need to serve 5. And you only need to register for 10. And you can see how much he's learned. You can see the maturity. You can see the accountability. There's nothing there. And so clearly 5 years is not going to be enough to protect another child. And sadly, you would think that maybe someone else will be hurt. What about what we saw today could make you feel comfortable that would not happen? And with that,
I do believe the state failed by not deeming him a sex offender after the commission of that crime, since it is obvious that he is in fact a sexual deviant. My daughter, my family, and I went through all the red tape to get this criminal sentenced for the time that he committed, to be sure that it would never happen to another victim. I do not believe that he is a good candidate for early release, as this seems to be a reoccurring trend for him.